Now, several law enforcement sources have told our investigative reporter, Chuck Gowdy, that this unusual arrangement is all part of a plea deal in Chicago involving one of the drug lord's sons.
What's up? What it do, man? Today we talking about El Chapo now. A few months back, before we got into a whole rack of other stuff, I spoke about El Chapo and El Chapo's son. Real quick, if you're living under a rock somewhere, El Chapo might be the top drug lord in the world, according to documentation, money making, escape from prison, and all different type of stuff. El Chapo right now is being held in Florence, Colorado, ADX. He had a humongous trial in New York City. One of his partners, Zambada, his son was the main witness against El Chapo. Now check this out. Years later, after El Chapo go down, the United States government is still looking to break the Sinaloa cartel. El Chapo and El Mayo, they the top founders of the Sinaloa cartel. El Chapo been at ADX all this time. They just snatched, I want to say last year, sometime last year, I believe, they just snatched Zambada, and they say that El Chapo's son played a role in the plot to kidnap him. So they say that El Chapo's son lured El Mayo to a location saying they was going to look at some property. They say armed men jumped on him and handcuffed him and bound him and threw a blanket or something over him. And they put both of them on a plane and flew him to El Paso. And in El Paso, U.S. authorities grabbed him and locked him up. Now, El Mayo, for people who don't know, his lawyer said and filed, and people agreed to it, that he was basically kidnapped and taken over his. And there's some wild shit now. Only reason I'm going into this story is because I'm interested in international drug stories. I like stories like that. I like to see what the end of them is going to be. So I spoke to you about El Chapo, and I told you that I thought they was going to be telling in some major form sooner or later. Now, I don't know if you, I don't know how many people follow, but I've always spoken about how the Mexican drug lords and the Mexican drug traffickers trade in information. So anyway, once his son got to the United States and they started talking all this other stuff about cooperation and deals, I wonder, was they going to do that? So I'm going to give you this straight out of the information that just came across my screen. I had to double check and check it. I had to double check it to check to make sure that this was official. So according to international news, 17 members of El Chapo's family went into the U.S. witness protection.
Chapo's kin tonight essentially defecting for their own safety as part of a guilty plea deal in Chicago by one of the drug lord's sons. The 17 relatives of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman coming across the border with jam-packed roller bags, some filled with thousands in U.S. currency, according to U.S. authorities. Family members converging last Friday here at the border crossing from Tijuana to San Ysidro in Southern California. This woman among the group, Guadalupe Lopez Perez, one of Chapo's ex-wives, and the mother of Chapo's sons, Ovidio Guzman and Joaquin Guzman Lopez. Both of Chapo's sons being held here in Chicago on major drug trafficking charges. As NBC5 Investigates reported last week, Ovidio Guzman has cut a deal with prosecutors at the Dirksen Federal Building and is scheduled to plead guilty in July.
In an interview, the specific journalist that was covering this story, right? The journalist who first revealed the family's interest into the United States argued that the move is not a surrender, but a division of roles designed to maintain operational control while gaining protection and legal advantage through cooperation with the United States authority. And I've been told you, if you research in real life, law, history, even on TV, the Mexicans cooperate with the government at the top levels of government and drug trafficking all the time. They basically telling you that these dudes is devising a plan to be able to maintain control of the Sinaloa cartel by cooperating against the other people, moving all the family members to California. That's where they came in from. And I don't know where witness protection going to put them, but the rest of the, because El Chapo still have other sons out there. They call the Chapitos, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, it went on to claim that the Guzman family appears to have made what they called a cooperation decision. One faction, including Ovidio Guzman Lopez, is cooperating with the United States Department of Justice and entering witness protection while another, led by Ivan Acevedo and Jesus Alfredo Guzman, remain in Mexico, continuing cartel operations, right? The family of El Chapo Guzman took a decision. Part of the family goes into the DEA's witness protection, and the other part continues the business. Ovidio Guzman, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, extradited to the United States in September of 2023. Time is moving fast. I stand corrected. That was September 23. So they've been in there. They've been locked up. They've been in U.S. custody for 2 years. You know they've been telling like I don't know what, bro. He's been in custody since September of 2023 and is expected to plead guilty to drug trafficking and money laundering charges on July 9th, this year, coming up. His cooperation reportedly included a condition: the safe relocation of his relatives. Mexico's Secretary of Security, Omar Garcia Haruch, confirmed the move, calling it part of an agreement stemming from Ovidio's legal negotiations. According to them, it is unlikely that his brothers, the ones that are still in hiding, will follow suit. They saying that they think they're going to ride it out. According to authorities in Mexico, he reportedly said, "I find it very unlikely that all of Chapo's sons will turn themselves into the authorities. Their survival as a family, even their physical safety, depends on continuing to have men, weapons, resources, and income streams," right? The analysis compared the Guzman family approach to that of the Zambada family. That's El Mayo, right? Which successfully split cooperation and operations. Let me make a side point. People thought that I was just trolling and I was making fun and I was insulting and attacking the Mexican cartels when I was speaking on cooperation being a part of how they operate over there. They clearly showed you that the Zambada crew, which is the other half of the Sinaloa cartel, has already used a split of cooperation and operations. He warned, however, that while the U.S. benefits strategically from such cooperations, the consequences for Mexico include more cartel infighting, corruption, and violence. The Sinaloa cartel civil war needs funding, and that means more drugs, more arms, and more bribes. Leave a comment in the comment box. Let me know what you think about this. Do you think El Chapo will ever get out of ADX? What you think gonna happen to his son? Now his son is cooperating, and his other sons, like how does that work for a drug or international drug cartel? Some of your sons cooperating, you cooperating. El Chapo is out ADX. I did a whole video. Nobody seemed to be interested in that video, but you could go back and check it. I got a video where I'm talking about El Chapo and the letters that he was writing from prison. But this is major. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but the top Sinaloa cartel boys from his son moved 17 members of their family into the DEA's witness protection, bro. Free the men, beware.